Hey, what's up? My name is Josh. I'm from Breaker Stereo and Performance, and in this video, we will be going over the 5 biggest mistakes when buying and installing a car stereo amplifier. These are the 5 biggest mistakes when buying and installing a car stereo amplifier. Make sure you don't make them in order to get the best sound out of your car audio system. Adding an amp is essential to any good sounding car audio system. But if you've never purchased one or have questions around buying one, then you're gonna want to stick around for this video as we go over these 5 common mistakes. Also, stay with us to the end of this video as we will be answering a few frequently asked questions. Okay, mistake numero uno, not looking at the correct power rating. You want to make sure that you're looking at the RMS rating and not the peak power. RMS stands for root means square, and according to Wikipedia, the definition is, in mathematics, it is the application. The root mean square is defined as the square root of the mean square. The RMS is also known as the quadratic mean and is a particular case of the generalized mean with exponent 2. But what that means in layman's terms is the continuous power the amp will put out under normal conditions, or simply real power. Now, peak power is what the amp will do for a millisecond when you plug it into the wall right before it burns up. And sometimes I see ratings where I'm not even sure that will even happen. No one knows the formula on how some of these low-end companies come up with their peak power ratings. Maybe they spin a wheel and see where it lands. But either way, ignore that rating and pay close attention to the RMS rating. Okay, mistake number 2, matching up the ohms correctly. Now, the term ohms, impedance, and resistance are all used interchangeably. In other words, they're referring to the same thing. When looking at the RMS, you will see different power output ratings. The lower the ohms or impedance or resistance, the more power the amp will make. If you're looking at a mono block amp, they're going to be either 1 ohm or 2 ohm stable. Now, if the amp is only 2 ohm stable, it will not state a power rating at 1 ohm. If you're looking at a 4-channel amp, they will normally give you both a 4 ohm and a 2 ohm rating. As an example, we will look at the Audison SR 4.300, which is 85 watts times 4 at 4 ohms, and 130 watts times 4 at 2 ohms. Now make note, 99% of the interior speakers sold are going to be 4 ohm speakers. So in most cases, you'll want to make sure to make note of the 4 ohm rating on the amplifier. As a side note, there's a new up-and-coming brand called Blam by Guy Bonneville, which makes a full line of 2 ohm speakers. So if you want to maximize your amplifier's power, take a look at this line. You will not be disappointed. Okay, moving on. Now back to woofers and how to wire them up. Now, most woofers are either going to be 2 or 4 ohm in either a single or a dual voice coil. Now, you can wire them up in series or in parallel. Parallel brings the overall impedance down, series brings the overall impedance up. As an example, 2 4 ohms in parallel go down to 2 ohms, and 4 ohms in series goes up to 8 ohms. This can get a little confusing, so we'll leave a link in the description below that will take you directly to our website better explaining this. Mistake number 3, not using the correct size wire or the correct type of wire. First off, let me say, do not use CCA wire. CCA stands for copper clad aluminum. It's cheap, it doesn't conduct well, and it corrodes quickly. Buy only OFC, oxygen-free copper. It's heavier, it conducts better, and it lasts much longer. Don't cheap out when it comes to the power wire, especially if you're spending a decent amount of money on your system. Also, use the correct gauge based on 2 factors. Number 1, how much current the amp draws, and number 2, the length of the wire from the battery to the amplifier. Now, all amps should state in the manual how much current it draws, or will state the recommended fuse size. So first locate that. Then estimate how long the power wire run is going to be. Next, click the link in the description below that'll take you directly to our webpage that has the amp power wire chart. So let's take a look at it together. As an example, if the amp draws 80 amps and your power wire run is 17 feet, we're going to need 4-gauge wire. But let's take a real-world example. Let's take a look at Rockford Fosgate P1000X1BD. According to the website, it recommends a 140 amp fuse. Let's say your power wire run is 15 feet. According to our chart, we should be running a 2 gauge wire. But if you look closely, this amplifier does not accept a 2 gauge wire. It only accepts a 4 gauge. So the 4 gauge will have to do. Now I took this example on purpose to show you that it doesn't necessarily have to be exact in order to work. Plus, if you look closely at the average current draw for music at 13.8 volts, it's only 65 amps. If you look back at the chart, then it's 4 gauge. So use the 4 gauge wire and then put in the 140 amp fuse. Also, it seems like common sense, but use the same gauge ground wire as your power. Believe me, we've ran across many clients' cars where their buddy did the job and this was not the case. Common mistake number 4. Running the power wire on the same side of the vehicle as the RCA. So the reason behind separating the power from the RCA is because it could cause engine noise. Now, if you don't know what that is, it's that really high-pitched sound that comes out of the speakers when you accelerate on the gas. If you've never heard it, it's really annoying. If the wires are all ran together, then the RCA can pick up electrical noise coming through that power wire. So make sure you're separating your power from your RCA's. Finally, mistake number 5, not tuning the amplifier correctly. If you watch some of our videos in the past, you know that we highly recommend using the SMD DD1 distortion detector. It's an easy and accurate way to tune an amp for both interior and subwoofers, and it retails for $189. But if you're spending several $1,000s on your car stereo system, then it's 100% worth it. If you don't want to make the investment, then most reputable car stereo shops will have this tool in their toolbox. So call your local car stereo shop and pay them to tune your vehicle with this device. As another option, you can do what my man Cody D did, was buy the unit and have a few buddies pay you a couple bucks to tune their systems as well to help pay for some of the cost. Not only will your system sound better, but it will prolong the life of your speakers and amplifiers. But if you want to tune by ear, we did a video that has a section about this subject, so at least watch that video. We'll leave a link in the description below taking you to that information. If you want to purchase the SMD DD1, there's also a link in the description below taking you directly to the webpage. Now you know the 5 most common mistakes when buying and installing an amplifier, so don't make them. Now, moving on to our FAQs, or frequently asked questions. Okay, question number 1. Can I run the remote wire with the RCA cables? Now the turn-on wire or the remote wire doesn't draw enough current and is normally a thin 18 gauge wire, so feel free to run this with the RCA cables. Question number 2. I've ran my power and RCA's on the opposite side of the vehicle and I still have noise. What can I do? Try using higher quality RCA cables. This will reduce engine noise because they have different shielding and often high-end cables are twisted or braided to cancel noise. If that doesn't work, try using a ground loop isolator on the RCA's. We found that the PAC SNI1 works fairly well. Okay, question number 3. Do I need to separate the power and the RCA's if I'm only running a subwoofer amplifier? Okay, not necessarily. Engine noise is only heard through your interior speakers and has a very high-pitched noise that a subwoofer cannot reproduce. Okay, next question. My bass amp will play for a few minutes and then cut out. First, check to make sure that the subs are wired correctly. If you wire them below what the amplifier is stable at, it will cut out. Refer to our webpage that better explains how to wire subwoofers to make sure it's wired correctly. Okay, next question. My amp cuts in and out for no apparent reason. Why? Okay, first check to make sure you have a good ground. A faulty ground will be intermittent. Make sure your ground is good. If you're creating your own ground point, sand down the paint to get a solid point of contact. Next, make sure your power connection is good on the battery, along with the fuse holder contact points. Also, do not use AGU fuses. They tend to fail. Use the mini A&L as a better option. If it continues to cut out, you could have a bad amp. Okay, last one, and this one is really common. My woofers are moving, but I don't have a lot of bass. Your woofers could be out of phase, which means the positive and the negative wires are backwards on one woofer. To see if this is the problem, simply switch one side around, and if you have bass, then that's it. Then go back over your wiring and see where you might have switched something around. All right guys, that wraps it up. If you found this video useful, make sure to hit that like button. Also, consider subscribing to our channel. We are consistently putting out videos like this along with product reviews, tutorials, and more. Again, my name is Josh. I'm with Breaker Stereo and Performance. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.